table of contents. Supposedly Bhaktivinoda Thakur did it, and it matches our analysis pretty much. What is the Paribhasa Sutra of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu? Huh? Anya abhilasita shunyam jnana karmari anavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama. Yeah. So that's his. That's what number text is that? Yeah. It's easy to remember. It's 1.1.11. 1111. Okay. Like that. Yeah. Okay. So what is 1.1.12? Sarvapadi vinirmuktam taparavina nirvalam rishikesha rishikena sevanam bhakti ruchate. So it's almost as important, And he's just saying that this is Uttama Bhakti, when the senses are engaged in the service of Krishna. So that's the complete science, and here's the little brother, So what's the first verse? Vacho vegam, manasa, krodha vegam, udara upasta vegam, etan vegam yo vishaheta diraha, sarvam api mam pratibhim sasishat. So very concentrated. If you follow the first verse, you become Jagat Guru, right? The very first verse. After that, we get more progress. The first verse, you become Jagat Guru. Okay, yeah. I remember when I was walking across the Berkeley campus one time, and University of California, so many people there, so many people. It's a big like intellectual place, pilgrimage place. And I saw one boy, and there's a Buddhist phrase. It says, when two thieves meet upon the road, they need no introduction. They know each other by sight. When two thieves meet upon the road, they need no introduction. They know each other by sight. Oh, the thief. So I think this guy's a devotee. Young man, I'm looking at him, I said, Hare Krishna. And he said, Hallelujah. But he was a real serious guy, young man. He was just traveling all over America, depending on Jesus, and had his Bible and was reading every day. So it was very nice. We met for a couple of days after that before he went on with his Parivajjakacharya. And we were making so much comparison. He was a real Madhyama Adhikari in the sense that he had gods in different religions. So he showed me, I think it was one phrase, it said, if you meet a man who has controlled his tongue, you have met a perfected man. It's the same thing, like that. So the first verse, of course, is Vacho Vegam, and maybe you already know, familiar, there's different pushes. He analyzes these, And of course, we can go with so much more detail and everything else. Most of the Upadesamrita is not Hare Krishna specific until you get to about verse number, I don't know, something, maybe 5 or 6 or something. Most of it is this universal, ethical, moral, spiritual principles. So the first text, then, it tells you the 6 pushes. And if you engage those in the service of Krishna, Rishikesha, Rishikena, Sevanam, that's bhakti. That's what he says. And Prabhupada said, this is the process that Rupa Goswami is recommending, is to engage the senses in the service of Krishna. Don't try to negate them or destroy them, but just engage them in Krishna's service, tasting prasadam, hearing about Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna. Use your anger for Krishna. Okay, So then the next text is Achahara, Vajalpa, Nimagraha, Chansangas Chaloilam Cha, Sabir Bhaktir, Vinashati. So these are 6 things that won't allow you to engage your senses very conveniently. And of course, the emphasis is Achahara, over-collecting. First, you have loilam, you're hankering for more than you require. It starts with the mind, loilam. And then what? To get that, you have to engage in achahara prayasas. You have to engage in over-endeavor. You have to get 2 jobs like that. Yeah, 2 jobs. And work like a dog, to achahara, to collect. So all related. Loilam, prayasas, achahara. And it's interesting because over-collecting means overeating, over-collecting, more clothes than necessary, more automobiles. But in the Anyore, Bhaktisiddhanta's commentary, he also says that over-collecting achahara also means to have more mystical powers than necessary. Right? Do you have more mystical powers? But when Bhaktisiddhanta was preaching, so many people they had, different potencies and so on, endeavoring, so on. Yeah. Even if you're distributing books, you discover so many techniques. You like to eat frogs, right? You like to eat frogs, right? Yeah, it's very powerful. You'd like to give me 1 lakh rupees, right? Yeah. You put the question, this is a sales technique. You put the question, so you'd like to take the book, right? Yeah. Put the question in a positive sense, then you smile and nod your head up and down and don't say anything. If it takes 5-10 minutes, you just put the iron smile. Salesmen know it's a very, very powerful technique. It's a mystical power, Yeah. So Vaisheshika, everybody, use some techniques, but the real thing is your sincerity to try and help somebody. And don't become covered over with all these techniques for getting the books out and losing what the essence is. Okay, so 6 things, how to engage the senses in the service of Krishna, text number 1. Text number 2, 6 things that'll make it difficult. Text number 3, utsahan nishtayad daryat tata karma pravartanat sangha tyaga sato vite sadbhagavata prasidati. And then 6 things that'll make it very easy like that. And what is it? Utsahan. What is utsahan? How does he define enthusiasm? How do we distinguish it from passion? Huh? Yeah, action executed in the service of Krishna with intelligence. So that's the key. If your intelligence means you have to have the goal fixed. What am I trying to do? And after I've been a devotee, actually, I guess when I came to Vrindavan, became a devotee. I joined the temple, everything else, because I had a certain really, nice motive, nice goal in mind. But after being in the temple, I started becoming just, accustomed to the routine and having my comfortable living and place to sleep, and I started seeing I was losing my high perspective, my high goal. So when I went to Vrindavan for the first time, I was focusing on that, redeveloping it, cultivating it, so it became my bhava, it became my perspective, my attitude. So we have to have a clear goal, and we have to have the means to achieve it. Because even though we have a very, very nice goal, if there's no way to achieve it, then we have no enthusiasm. Yeah. So those 2 things, and automatically you'll be enthusiastic. If you lose one time Kirtanananda told us that Prabhupada's, he told us, and Prabhupada told him, that if you lose your enthusiasm, you can always find it in your intelligence. Go back and then work on your intelligence. Who am I? What am I trying to do? Why am I here? What's going on? Well, that's not correct. I shouldn't be focusing on that. I should, okay, that's a good idea. How can I do it? Well, okay, I can start like this. Okay, yeah. And then you're enthusiastic again. Utsahan nischayad daryat. Yeah. So, 6 things. That's how to control the 6 impulses. Engage in the service of Krishna. 6 things that'll make it difficult. 6 things that'll make it easy. Okay. Then he goes to association. Sangatyagat. He's talking about association before that. Everything. Basically, we see 2 subjects in Upadesamrita. One is the process, and the other one is sangha. Which is more important, the process or the association? Association. Jayananda one time told us, he said, Krishna consciousness means eating and sleeping in the best of company. Yeah. He said, if you eat prasadam and sleep in the brahmachari ashram, you'll have no problems. Brahmachari ashram too. Yeah. Yeah. So that's it. Once you got the association of devotees, you'll get up in the morning, you'll chant, everything else follows. So it's the primary thing. Prabhupada quotes from the Bhagavad Gita here, Sangat Sanjayate Kama, which usually means our desires and ambitions develop from the company we keep, but there he translates it as by associating with the sense objects, one that develops attraction. But here he says it means our desires and ambitions develop from the company we keep, like that. So very powerful process. So association, okay, I've been talking about it a little bit, but 4, 5, 6, it's very, very prominent. Text number 4 describes what is association, right? Giving and receiving gifts, giving and receiving food, and giving and talking confidentially about things. And Prabhupada said this is common in any human life. Somebody may invite you invite your near and dear ones to pass the holiday season with you, and like that, and so on. And you find some special gift just for them. I know one devotee, Jaya Krishnadas. He was from Sicilian. He's mafia, but he's really good small business guy. Very strong and everything else, and managing maybe 40, 50, 60 employees. He has a baseball bat in the back of his car. Doesn't play baseball, but he's so we're talking about things, and he has maybe like 40, 50 employees, and so Chanika Pandit says the same thing. When the citizens or the employees are in front of the king, they should feel like they're in front of the king, So you have to dress like you're the king and stuff, and they feel like that and stuff. So he showed me he had 6, expensive, not super expensive, but expensive, good business suits. Why did he have 6? Huh? One extra. Because after a while, the employees have figured out, Mr. Gennaro always wears that suit on Tuesday, that suit on Wednesday. He has 5 suits, okay. But with 6, it forces it to be one off, and after that, he's figured they kind of appear on different days like that. Smart guy. So they know, Mr. Gennaro has so many, expensive suits, and he's the boss, like that, Yeah. Where's it go? I think it's Chanika Pandit says a Kshatriya has to have good dress, weapons, and social prestige. Otherwise, you can't do your job. You have to have good dress, weapons, and social prestige, and then automatically, then you can do your job properly. So these are not achahara. These are required, So for him too. But then he showed me he has something like 65 ties, and he said, "I don't need this. The suits I need, but it's just so this I just, I'm attached to having different ties." Yeah. Okay. So anyway, he's a passionate, Vaishya guy, and giving big donations to the temple for things like that and so on. And he's had his different attachment to feminine association. He was married and divorced and this and that and so on. And so he's talking to me about it, this attachment and this problem and how to advance in spiritual life. Then he said he was watching on television. He was watching He was watching the Animal Channel. And there's different channels on television, and one of them is the Animal Channel, okay. And it was the sex life of rhinoceroses. The sex life of rhinoceroses, okay. Jai, Hare Krishna. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Yeah. And it was like Krishna, because when you hear that the he-ass composes poetry and sings it, and while the she-ass is kicking him in the face. Hare Krishna. Vijay Narayan Ki Jai, Mataji Ki Jai. These things, yeah. So we know that the Prabhupada says that the he-ass composes poetry and sings it while the she-ass kicks him in the face while he's trying to have sex. But it was the same thing with the she-ass, the rhinoceros and Mrs. Rhinoceros. And so he told me he was thinking like, Krishna is just showing me. Krishna is showing me all this attachment for the opposite sex is just the same thing that these animals are going through, and you're going to suffer like that. You think you're going to enjoy, But then he told me, he said, but still, I'm still looking for a pink rhinoceros. I'm still looking for a pink rhinoceros. Okay. So maybe about a week later, we were at a nice home program, and devotees, and then the little boy had a little pink rhinoceros, toy, And so I said, well, where did you get this? And he said, oh, you can take it. So I put it in a little package, and I mailed it to Florida. And then Jai Krishna said he came home from a hard day's work, and when opening the mail, and he opened up his package from Hanuman Swami, and there's a pink rhinoceros. And he said he was cooking and he was playing with it, Then later he sold everything and moved to the Bahamas, and he kept the pink rhinoceros and stuff, and he still has it right to the end. And he said actually it's been really helped his consciousness whenever he thinks about, oh, I need a wife, somebody to sympathize with me, and all this stuff. And he goes and, plays with his pink rhinoceros. Okay, that's enough. I don't need to be kicked in the face. Yeah. So, dadati pratagrinati, guyamakati prachati bhungte bhoje, giving and receiving gifts. Chanika Pandit says, there's no show of affection like a gift. Yeah. And somebody and figure it out, and they give it to you, and they say, wow, wow, thank you. You know what I needed, what I wanted, and stuff like that. So these are very subtle, subtle aspects of association. Text number 4. What is association? And text number 5 talks about how to apply that amongst devotees. How to apply that amongst devotees. Krishneti yasya giritam manasadret dikshastip che pranatabish chabhajantam isham. And usually for devotees, this is made, like for ourselves, this is the verse that really helps a lot. I know when the Upadesamrita came out, it helped my spiritual life so much, this verse. Because he's describing, there's 3 different kinds of devotees. There's Kanista Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. Okay? Yeah. So, Krishneti Yasya Giritam Manasadreta. If somebody just says the name of God, then he's a devotee. But he's Kanista Adhikari, at least the name of God appears on his lips. If something happens to somebody, if you're hammering away the carpenter, you hit your thumb, right? Then you say some strong word, Usually most people in America, they say one of 2 words, which are taboo words that deal with the Muladhara chakra. Yeah. Because it draws you. Yeah. Other people say, oh God damn it, or Ari Bhagavan, Yeah, so he's a devotee. The name of God will appear on his lips. They say that when the Twin Towers in New York were collapsing and everything else, Osama bin Laden said, Allahu Akbar. So that makes him a Kanista Adhikari. Yeah. Huh? Yeah. And then it is identifying 2 kinds of Kanista Adhikaris in here. Those who will take instructions from Scripture and the pure devotees, and those who won't. They pray to God because they want their particular benefit in life. But that's their level. They're approaching God, okay. Yeah. So I've seen that very practically. Preaching, being a temple president, the people wouldn't surrender. Then I remember, okay, Prabhupada said about this, and people accepted it. Yeah. So different kinds of Kanista Adhikari, yeah. And any of these topics we can just go into in great depth. This one's very important. So, reading through the Upadesamrita again and again, Prabhupada Bhadravardan told me when the Nectar of Devotion came out, Prabhupada said, now read this book 6 times and all your questions will be answered. Not that you say, what is this? What is this? Go on. So very essential, our education is spiral. The same thing again and again and again, but higher. Whereas German education is you learn one thing, then you learn the next, and you learn the next, and you never go back. I know that's German, but ours, no, we hear the same thing again and again. In the 10th canto, it says you're not the body. No, we learned that one time. No, it has to penetrate. Yeah, no. So the Kanistha Adhikari, right? They're different kinds. There's so many kinds, different levels, and so on. Prabhupada talks about neophyte pure devotees. Okay, in your last lifetime, you went through Adoshvada, Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishta. You were starting Ruchi and you died. So you went through different religious things and you found Iskcon again. And you go very quickly. Other people are struggling with Adoshvada. Well, I don't know about the Hare Krishnas, and maybe they're pretty good. I don't know. Okay, well, I'll go with you to the Sunday feast, but I don't know if I'm going to go again or not. Okay, Adoshvada, Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya, initiation, Narta Nivritti. Yeah, so from your previous life, you go through all these things very quickly, right? Yeah. But then you come to Nishta, Ruchi, and then suddenly you're not making so much rapid progress. Well, why is that? Because now you've got to do the work, Yeah, whatever you acquired before is there, but now so maybe it's slower, Nihabikramo Nashosti, but it's eternal, like that and so on. So sometimes we find somebody, he may be a Paka, second initiated devotee, he may be a pujari and externally doing things nicely in puja and stuff, but his faith in the holy name is not, it's nice, but it's not very high. Somebody else may be neophyte devotee and may not be able to follow 4 principles exactly, strictly in the beginning, or different things like that, may not know the rules of deity worship so much, how to act, but they have great faith in the holy names. So Prabhupada says neophyte pure devotee, right? Yeah. So different kinds of Kanistha Adhikari, and then Madhyama Adhikari, right? What does Rupa Goswami say? Krishneti yasya giritam manasa diet dikshasti chet vinadabish chabhajatam isham. Yeah, that he's taken diksha from a bona fide spiritual master, and he's engaged in the worship of the deity. In the Sanskrit it says bhajatam isham. Prabhupada says worship of the deity. So this is in Iskcon we have this arrangement. Okay, somebody who's taken initiation. Now this is the subtle point, because we have Harinam Diksha, we have Gayatri Diksha, second initiation, and I couldn't quite sort this out for many years, going through these things. Then finally you get a hypothesis. I said, wait a second. Then I read it. That's correct. So at some point then becomes very clear, more subtle aspect of it. You go from being an ambulance attendant to being an intern where you can cut somebody open and tie them together enough so the next morning a real doctor can come. Yeah. So that's when I understood more what Prabhupada is saying about Kanistha Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, Uttama Adhikari, and so on. So Madhyama Adhikari, the way he's defining it, what we call second initiation, and that is actual diksha. That is, Prabhupada says, spiritually initiated, actually initiated. In our study guide, we have quotation from when Prabhupada was talking to one Indologist, a professor in Rome, maybe 30 years old. He's like a very nice person, but little Jnana Mishra guy. So he said, so are you giving diksha to your disciples, And he said, yes. And to the girls, Prabhupada said, yes, also to the girls. And then so Prabhupada says, but first we give Harinam Diksha, which is more or less experimental. And when we see that people are properly advanced, then we actually initiate them. So the second initiation is actual initiation, But Prabhupada didn't require people to follow the four principles when he gave Harinam Diksha. Other Gaudiya Vaishnava acharyas, don't require, in the past, and I'm sure they're doing now, they didn't require people to follow the four principles. They were giving Harinam Diksha, as like in a neophyte, process like that. And it was very interesting because some of them, we won't mention any names here, but some of them were coming to the West to preach and so forth, so on. And they were giving, Harinam Diksha to young men, and automatically they were giving it to their wives, just automatically. Because in India, at that time, the wife follows the husband. But in America, they began to figure out the wife doesn't always follow the husband. That they do what they, okay, if he's chanting and following, or she is. No, they figured out, well, she's not, okay. So, but in the beginning, they didn't, they had a different idea how to go. Subhag Maharaj was telling me that, I won't get into names here. Okay, one Iskcon sannyasi was telling me that one Gaudiya Math sannyasi would come to the temple in Mayapur sometimes, as part of Harinam programs and stuff like that. And he said that he would have to, when he was translating from Bengali into English, he would have to adjust the translations because this Gaudiya Math sannyasi didn't exactly understand, our Iskcon standards and ideas and words. This Gaudiya Math sannyasi was in the United States. He was preaching, and somebody asked him this question. He said, he said, going out and selling books is kanista adhikari activity. Now, in Iskcon, especially in America, this is like standing in front of a Spanish bull and waving a red flag. It's like So immediately one senior Iskcon devotee said, Maharaj, do you mean that if you're going out and preaching and distributing books to people, that's kanista adhikari? And he said, well, no, of course not. That's the highest service. Thank you, Maharaj. And the Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyasi never figured out, why the guy was asked. Yeah, because we have a different way we say things and do things. And so even within our Gaudiya Math, first initiation generally meant Harinam Diksha, and it wasn't required, so you see that in the Upadesamrita, that's the way it all makes sense, This may have, I'm not sure how early Prabhupada finished this, the date we need and so on, So, then, after 1 year of following everything properly, then, okay. Prabhupada said many times, anybody who stays in the temple and follows the four principles and chants 16 rounds can be initiated after six months. The GBC changed that after Prabhupada left, and that's one of the things I think was a mistake, because then it says you must examine each other for 1 year, but that's for the Gayatri Diksha, which was the only Diksha there was, in the Vedas and so on. So then the second initiation, we called it then, as Prabhupada said, that's the real initiation. But then he goes on and says, but Jiva Goswami says that in the age of Kali, Harinam Diksha is sufficient, like that. Yeah. So if you're actually following the standard for Harinam Diksha, it's okay. You don't need to formally take second initiation, but you have to follow it. You have to chant 16 nice rounds. You have to follow the four principles, and automatically, Shrenvatam Swakata Krishna, you become Punyatma. Jayananda, this great devotee, I think he's an incarnation of Prahlad Maharaj. One time he went 72 hours without sleeping and reading to get the Rath Yatra to go on. And that was typical of his activities. He was not, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, that's with everybody, And Prabhupada said when he left his body, Prabhupada put him on the Vaishnava calendar with everybody else. So he forgot some of the Gayatri mantras. His Brahman sweat was black with automobile grease. He was a Shudra. He was a mechanical engineer. He was happy when he was out, building Rath Yatra carts and welding things and all this kind of stuff. And his preaching was very informal but very potent. Very potent. He was when you were with him, it was just you were Krishna conscious and stuff. But yeah, so for him, second initiation wasn't necessary. Harinam. But okay, it's a formality so people know these things and so on. Yeah. So that's, I would say, the way, looking at it, at first initiation, you're a kanista adhikari. Second initiation, you're a madhyama adhikari. And then third initiation, Goswami, you're Uttamadhikari. At least you should be. Yeah. So it's kind of, so for first initiation, we fold our hands. Jai Prabhu, Hare Krishna, good to see you. Are you still smoking marijuana? Okay, you should try and reduce it down once a week. And Haribol, good to see you. Okay. Yeah, there's some problems in the temple, Prabhu, always are. Okay, Haribol, Yeah, it's devotee. Second initiation, we pay our obeisances. Okay, exchange obeisances. And we accept these people. They have attachments, we can see that. One time, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was in New York giving an evening class, and then he asked for questions, and one Russian devotee said, Maharaj, do you have any material attachments? And everybody, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he was like, like heavy, They know him like that. Would you ask Tamal Krishna Maharaj that? Maharaj, like that. If it was a time of death, he would do that, right? You wanted to commit suicide by asking that Sunday feast. Fire would come from his eyes, and the Guru Bhakti would be reduced to ashes. They would sweep them up. But anyway, this Russian devotee asked him. He said, "Maharaj, do you have material attachments?" And Maharaj looked at him, But he was Russian, so he just, he's used to staring polar bears in the face. So he just smiled and went back at Maharaj. He said, yes, I guess so, but they're under control and they're diminishing. So he's identifying himself as a Madhyama Adhikari. Yeah, it's in the heart, it's convalescent stage, and it's going away. That's the Madhyama Adhikari, but you got to be careful. A Madhyama Adhikari is a pure devotee by using their intelligence. Uttamadhikari is a pure devotee spontaneously. Then a few more questions, and the same Russian devotee raised his hand again. And what do you want? What are your material attachments? Then again he smiled again, and he said, "Well, I guess I want to be respected. I want some fame and things like that." And I think that's when he said it was under control. Yeah. So, okay. So another Uttamadhikari, maybe a possible example. Satsrup Maharaj was traveling with a library party all over the U.S., and they were doing this really incredible program of putting books in all these libraries. And so he was at a Sunday feast at some big temple, and they give a nice lecture, everything else, and with the devotees taking prasadam, and then he was taking one sabji, just put it in his mouth and was chewing it, and one brahmachari ran up and said, Maharaj, that preparation wasn't offered to the deities. And just like somebody said that a dog had urinated in it or something, he just went like all over the guests, everybody like that. But it was, it was like this, spontaneous horror that I'm eating boga. Wow, okay, the devotees appreciated, what it means to be, bhava, okay, yeah. I understand, okay, we have Kanistadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, Uttamadhikari. That's one nice division, okay. And the Uttamadhikari is text number 6. Text number 5 talks a little bit, but text number 6 then goes, what is it? Dristayi, Swabhava Janater, Vapusas Chadoshayer, Napakri Tattva Miha Bhaktya, Janasya Paset, Gangam Basam Nakalu Bhud Bhuda Pinapankayer, Brahmadavatvam Apagachati, Niradharmai. Yeah. And he doesn't identify with his body. If he has any physical defects or anything else, you shouldn't consider them. Like the Ganges, you can bathe in it any time. It's not in Prabhupada's commentary, but in Bhaktisiddhanta's commentary, he also says there also may be psychological, problems. Somebody says somebody may be too harsh in their character or something. Oh, this person is not a pure devotee. No, he said these things are there. This is something in Iskcon people don't appreciate so much, that these psychological problems are actually more durable and more substantial many times than the physical problems. You can take your mental problems and anger, fear, through many lifetimes, but your physical body may change, So they don't understand these things. I think in Iskcon it needs to be like good education about this level. As you advance, you begin to realize, I have vasanas. I have things from previous lifetimes which make me act in a certain way. But we can surpass those by bhakti yoga. So Uttamadarkarya gives very nice description and how to recognize and how to associate like that. So 1, 2, 3, the process. Follow, engage your senses in the service of Krishna. 4, 5, 6, how to associate with devotees. 7, 8, Shatnama Krishna Charitade Sitapiya Vidya. Back to the process again. Shatnama Krishna. Shatnama Krishna. Shatnama Krishna. Nama, what is it? Shatnama Krishna. Charitadi Sukhitana Nusmityo Kamena. Tanama Rupa. There it is, yeah. And this is a natural sequence. Nama, Rupa, Charit or Guna. Nama, Rupa, Charit. Sangha. Yeah, Sangha and Lila. Yeah, Adi is Sangha and Lila. You see, other times you see these things. The Prabhupada's paraphrasing these things. One time we were with the Brajmano Parikrama with Lokanath Maharaj, and we were coming into Mathura, and I was leading the kirtan. In the front was Purnatai, Nitai, Gaurasundar. And we were coming into Mathura, and some people were like, hammering away on metal and smoking beedis and looking at us. Who are these people? And like it was like a little intimidating because some people were like, looking at us in a harsh way. And I was chanting. Okay, so I just took shelter of the names. Okay, and then Nama. You're chanting sincerely. Then you want to see the form. Where's the picture of Krishna? I want to chant in front of the deities or find a picture of Krishna. Yeah. So automatically, if we're chanting properly, you want to associate with the form, Nama, Rupa, and then qualities, Guna, Lila. So I was chanting, and then this problem comes. So I took more shelter of the chanting. Well, where's Krishna? Where's the form? Oh, okay, there they are. Nitai Gaur Sundar are here. And so Nama, Rupa. Well, who are they? They're Krishna, Balaram. Oh, who are we? We're the cowherd boys. We're coming in with Krishna and Balaram. There's the washer guy, and there's, And I was like chanting, we're with the cowherd boys with Krishna and Balaram. Okay, yeah. So this is the natural process. Text number 7 talks about it up to the level of, what is it? Tanama Krishna Charitade Sitapiya Vidya Patopatapta Rasa Nasa Narochika Nu Kenvadarat Anunidam Kalusaiva Justa. Yeah. In the beginning we have an inclination towards material enjoyment. Right? One Indian guy wrote in the India West newspaper, he said, if we have to give a $20 donation in the temple, it is horrible. It is horrible to give $20 donation in the temple. He said, but we can take our children to the shopping mall and spend $100 on toys with no problem. He said, if we have to listen to Srimad Bhagavatam for 30 minutes, it is terrible in the temple. But he said, we can watch a cricket match for 4 hours. Yeah, this is it. In the beginning, we have this taste, for material enjoyment. But if you apply the Nama Rupa systematically, you chant your rounds, you see the deities for Artik, you hear the Krishna book, then it destroys this attachment at the root. Tanama Nagadamula Hantri. And then you start to develop a taste. Ado Shraddha. Ruchi, Raga. Yeah. So then you start to come to the point where you can start to engage in Raga Nuga Bhakti. And this is the next text. He's recommending this process then. It's the same process, but now you're stimulating this, coming to the point of Raga Anuga Bhakti. In Raga Nuga Bhakti, Ruchi, it's a confidential thing. When Gaudiya Sannyasi explaining, it's like you have a big jewel. You don't walk around showing it to people. You don't go through the train station in Delhi with your opulence hanging out. You have beat up luggage. Yeah. So if you have to come to the point of, if anybody's come to the point of Raga Nuga Bhakti and they're advertising it, they haven't come to the point of Raga Nuga Bhakti. It's a confidential thing. When 2 thieves meet upon the road, they recognize each other. You see, Raganuga Bhakti, you're doing the same thing everybody else is doing. You're doing artik, you're doing book distribution, but it's how you're doing it now. Yeah. If you're in the level of Vaidya Bhakti, every day you make the offering of the Rajbhoga to Radhanila Madhava on time. One wet sabji, one dry sabji, puris, pakoras, what else we got? Rice, dal, salt, pepper, water, nectar. Okay? Tulsi leaves. And you come in and you say, hey, here's your lunch. I'll be back in half an hour. Yeah, you're doing it, and you're liberated because you're Brahman, nasochati nakangshati, that level. But then you begin to think, well, gosh, I mean, I should at least act like, some kind of proper feelings. How does Mother Yashoda offer lunch to Krishna? How do the cowherd boys? So this is Raganuga, where you start like Prabhupada says, we have to learn the little art of crying for Krishna. Yeah. So the Sahajias also want to imitate the emotions, right? But they wanted to do it to enjoy. We want to imitate the emotions to enhance our service, to at least, okay, this is better. I could act like, here's your lunch, and how would Mother Yashoda offer it to Krishna? How would the cowherd boys? You're learning to play the piano, right? You're learning the scales. It's mechanical. You can play the song. Da 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 da. Duh. Yeah. Okay. Your teacher comes along and says, "Oh, you're making progress. Sure, I'll play it on the violin with you." Okay. So when he's playing it on the violin, dun 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 dun, bum 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 bum, you can do it, right? You can engage in raganuga, because you're with a ragatmika person. He has a feeling for it now, and he can play it like Beethoven did this symphony or something like that, and so on. A Raganuga Bhakta follows a Ragatmika Bhakta. This was a mistake in Nectar of Devotion, which they've corrected now, yeah. And so this is text number 8. And then the purport, there's an explanation like that, coming to Raganuga Bhakti. Okay. Text number 9. What is it? Vaikuntaj? Vaikuntaj janito vare marupari tarapi govardhana radhakundam ihapi gokulapate premamrita bhavanad. Yeah. It's because he says you want to engage in Raganuga Bhakti, but where? No, he says then Mathura Mandala. Yeah. Mathura is superior to Vaikuntha. Right now, where we are is superior to Vaikuntha. Yes. There are mosquitoes in Vaikuntha. Yeah, but can we appreciate it? Yeah. If you're on the level of Raganuga Bhakti, this is a wonderful place, for stimulating your feelings and these kind of things like that, and your mood. Yeah. So, and he gives a hierarchy. Mathura Mandala is superior to Vaikuntha. Within that, Dwadasha Kanan, the 12 forests, are more intense, the Tarasi Krosh Parikrama, Lord Chaitanya did it. They're more intense than Mathura in general, and more intense than that is Govardhan, and more intense than Govardhan is Radhakund. Yeah. Well, this is very confidential knowledge, extremely confidential. And so then Prabhupada gives like a nice description of these places. Okay, then text number 10. Back to association. Karma bhya parito hara priyataya. And Prabhupada goes in the purport from karmis, from vikarmis, to karmis, to jnanis, to vimukta jnanis, to sadhana bhaktas, Shuddha bhaktas, Braja bhaktas, Gopi bhaktas, and Bhaktin Radha. Yeah. So everything is there. Every single kind of association you can get, and you can identify everybody. Sometimes when we were devotees in the beginning, we talk about the dirty karmis, the evil karmis, the dirty karmis. Is that a fact? Karma bhya priyata hare. Krishna loves, and Purport Prabhupada says, Krishna loves the karmis. A karmi is somebody who follows the Prophet Muhammad correctly and does what he says. He gives charity. He worships Allah. He prays sincerely. You meet such a person, you say, oh, nice person. You know? One time in the Bible it says that Lord Jesus Christ was on his mission, preaching, and one young Jewish man came to him and he said, Rabbi, I'm giving charity according to all the rules. I'm doing all the fasting and the austerity. I'm doing all these things. What else do I have to do to become perfect? And Jesus said, give all of your possessions in charity and follow me. And it said the young man went away with a long face because he was rich. He was a rich person. And then Jesus Christ, it said, but then it said that Jesus Christ said, verily I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. But by the mercy of God, all things are possible. And it said that Jesus loved him. Yeah, so the karmis are already, you meet them and stuff, they're good people. They're basically kanista adhikaris. Yeah. Then they develop wisdom, like we're doing now. This is jnana yoga, right? Yeah. And then they become vimukti jnanis, na sochati, na kangshati. And then brahmande brahmate kon. No. How's it go? That's the one I'm thinking of. Brahmande brahmate kon bhagavan jeev. Yeah. Then you can get the vimukti jnani. You can get the bhakti lata bija and become a devotee. And finishing off, text number 11 finishes off. What? Krishnasa chai pranaya vasati prayasivyo pirada kundam chasya munibir abidas tadrit eva vyarai ya prastera pila masulamam kim punar bhakti bhajam tapremidam sakrit api sharas natur aviskaroti. Wow, I memorized it. Yeah. Of all the objects of delight, favor, delight, and amongst all the damsels of Brajabhumi, Radharani is the greatest. Yeah. It is very difficult for even the great sages fully engaged in Vaidya Bhakti, Sadhana Bhakti, to achieve Radha Kund. Yeah. But if you just bathe one time in Radha Kund, your pure love will emerge into following the footsteps of the gopis, like that. That brings up a lot of questions. Yeah. And that's how it finishes off. Yeah. So, koi prashna. Yes, sir.
Maharaj, like Anyore says, Alo Shabda Sadhusanga Bhajan Kriya, Anvatriviti, Ruchi, Asakti, Ruchi, like that.
Yeah.
So, can somebody have Ruchi before he is fully Asakti? Can you have Ruchi before Asakti?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, though are we going step by step, or can we have some of that?
Yeah.
Of step ahead of this.
Weren't you listening? I already answered the question. That's what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was talking to this Christian guy one time, and that's how he was dealing with him. He was just like, he was like he was tearing the guy's flesh off of his face or something. He was so like, the guy was like, I already answered that question. Are you a fool? Yeah. So anyway, yeah. No, our education and process is spiral, but this whole German mentality is one box to the other. You are either Shraddha or Nishta, or it's like you go from one box to the next box. But ours is no. It's more like maybe you're at Nishta, and you're always chanting, always getting up, always engaging in your service, fixed, and you're really starting every now and again. You get a taste, not relief from suffering. You actually get a taste of being an Ayodhyavasi. Of loving Ram, or a taste of, cowherd boys and how they feel. So you're starting to come into ruchi, right? But basically you're here, and sometimes there's some ruchi, then there's sometimes, not so often, asakti. And maybe once every 2-3 years you get a little taste of prema or bhava. Yeah. On the other hand, maybe every 2-3 years you have some serious doubts coming in, and like that. So yeah, it's like that. I think I heard Gaur Govinda Maharaj say the same thing. So, yeah. So So yeah, you can be experiencing. I mean, I had one experience right in Gopal Mandir, which was Gopi Baba. I mean, it was like that. It was very, very short. Yeah, we were sitting in front of the Gopal Mandir, chanting with devotee, maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and we're chanting for some time, and it was like one of the gopis or something splashed some water, and one drop of the real Radhakund, went down through Ayodhya, through Vaikuntha, through Brahmaloka, through Indraloka, through Maharloka, and hit me. It was one moment. It was this bhava of like, this intense happiness and all these kind of things and so on, and it wasn't a hallucination. No. So yeah, then you get these what a bija, Narada Muni. He wasn't ready, but he got this experience of seeing Narayan and stuff. So it happens, but then we have to cultivate it properly. Not commit offenses. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So you mentioned in your presentation about how the first three verses are a bit generic and they are applicable.
4, 5. Again, even 6. This is it's universal ethics and morality in any religion. They apply to any religion. Number 6.
Correct.
7, 8. Yeah, I basically really think 8. Yeah.
Yes. So, but I had this question that the first verse is making quite a statement when it says that Sarvam Apimam Prithvim Sa Shishyat.
Yeah.
One is qualified to make disciples all over the world.
Yeah.
So, although it is not addressing any of the aspect of knowing Krishna Tattva or like that,
No.
it is saying that one is qualified to make disciples all over the world.
Yeah.
So, how to understand that?
But, well, in the purport, Prabhupada starts off talking about the elephant's bath. I couldn't figure why he's talking about that, because it's Vegam, okay. It's like he's talking about Vegam, pushes, and the elephant comes out and takes it now. Then he goes right into the story of Ajamil, like that, and how Ajamil, was it Ajamil? Yeah, I think it was, and how he got free from these reactions and stuff, and then it's in Maharaj Pariksit. Because in the end of the 5th canto, everyone's going to hell because of their karma. So in the 6th canto, he says, is there any way for people to get free from these reactions and so on? And Sukadeva Goswami says, yeah, you should engage in prayaschitta, you should engage in pious activities, you should do a lunar fast, you should do Vadamana Samhita. He suggests karma kanda. And Maharaj Pariksit says, very politely, I don't accept that. Yeah. So sometimes Guru is testing you. You can say, Gurudev, I don't accept that. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. So there's how to control these 6 pushes. Common way is to engage in some kind of prayaschitta, some kind of atonement. And even materialists, they have different ways of giving up smoking and so on, which involve, one of the conditioned thing is you're supposed to slap your hand before you smoke. It's supposed to then you smoke the cigarette. So after a while, you're supposed to associate, smoking a cigarette with this painful experience. Yeah, it does work. It works for rats. If you rats and dogs will work for them. Yeah. So okay, he rejects that, and probably in the purport is giving this explanation. Yeah. And I think in Nectar of Devotion, you're going to find the same thing in terms of kleshagnya. The first result is you get free from these sinful reactions, and he's explaining all of it, but there it's detailed, There it's explaining why these things won't work. So this is a little summary, same thing. Yeah. Then Sukadeva Goswami suggests jnana, become austere, develop all this stuff, and it's kind of like, I think Maharaj Pariksit kind of goes like, doesn't even say no, but kind of, and Sukadeva Goswami says, yeah, you're right. Karma, jnana won't do it. Jnana is better. Jnana is more powerful. It'll take you higher than the karma kanda, but in the end, it won't do it. There's whole different things. In Socrates, very nice comment from Socrates' last dialogue about exactly the same thing. And Socrates Socrates is the founder of Jnana in the West, everything. But he said no. Until you have to apply the words of the self-realized soul daily. Otherwise, mere argument and reason will not completely eradicate your fear of death. And so then he suggests karma, bhakti yoga, and then Prabhupada in the purport, says the same thing. And then he says to engage the senses in the service of Krishna. That will do it. So 1:12. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes. This is. Wait a second. The microphone is coming. Der Fernsprecher. Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Yeah. You're going to push the button, maybe. I guess because this is also, we're broadcasting this.
In the last verses of the book, they are saying that if you take bath in Radhakund, you will achieve love for Krishna and for Radharani. So, and I also read that Srila Prabhupada said to some of his disciples not to take bath in Radhakund because they were behaving bad. But now, why so many gurus forbid their disciples to take bath in Radhakund?
Oh, are you sure so many do?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
How many?
So
How many
much.
gurus are there in Iskcon?
There's a lot.
How many
but
sannyasis are there? I forgot. Maybe like 150 or something. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what I said. It produced many questions. Habla español? It's interesting because in the Spanish translation, there are two. I don't know if you've corrected it or not. There was one. Boy, it's interesting. Because you start translating, it's a whole different thing about. When we did the Sunday feast, I told you this joke in Spanish yesterday, right? How many stars are in the sky? So this is the same thing. Guayaquil, I was giving a lecture, and one lady about 40 years old, she said, "Oh, I like your culture, your philosophy. I've been reading your books now, and for about 3-4 months, I like it so much. I want to go ahead and become initiated." But she said, "I have a big problem." I said, "What is that?" She says, "I have a bakery. I run a bakery, and your books says that bread is for satisfying illicit desires." And everybody else said, "Bread, it never says that." And she said, "No, it says right here, haritaki, opium, marijuana, and pan are all for satisfying illicit desires. The word for bread in Spanish is pan." So yes, that we have to explain the books. We have to give purports to them. Yeah, so on. So same way it says in English, in Upadesamrita, that Lord Chaitanya wanted to find the location of Radhakund, so he went to Arita Gram and figured out this is Arista Gram, and then he asked some old man, "Are there 2 ponds here?" Like that, and some people respect him. He says, "I don't know, I don't think so, but over there's 2 things, and some call them one Shama and another Gauri, and that's what they call them." And Lord Chaitanya went there. Sometimes there's like this much water, because that's where the water table is a little bit higher, and that's all there was apparently. And so Lord Chaitanya was out there bathing himself, and they said, looking at the sannyasi sitting out in the field pouring water over himself while he was doing that. So then it says he told his followers that the original Radhakund and Shamakund were there. That's the English. Spanish, it says he told his followers that these were the original Radhakund and Shamakund. A little different. Yeah. And then it goes on to say that now it was excavated by Raghunath Das Goswami and others, and now, English, there is a large pond there known as Radhakund. And now Radhakund, in Spanish, and now Radhakund is there. It's a big pond. No. Okay. So what we're experiencing is like when you see Radhashama Sundar, Pratimanaha Tume Saksha Vrajendrananda. Now they're not statues. They are the son of Maharaj Nanda. Yeah, it was ago. Yeyatam mam prapajante tamstataiva bhajami aham. Yeah. They reciprocate how we approach them. If we don't really want to see Krishna, then we see something sacred, we see something special. We can pray to them when we're in trouble. We can get some kind of little esoteric, aesthetic experience, but we don't really want to see Krishna yet. Like that. Otherwise, then we gotta, surrender. Yeah. So that's the level. It depends on your level. If you go to Radhakund and you have, Prabhupada says, only follow in the Upadesamrita, only the followers of Lord Chaitanya can appreciate the significance of Radhakund. Other people may appreciate Govindakund, Surabhikund, so many places. Oh yeah, the Gaudiyas worship this, the Nimbarka worship this, Balabhas worship this. Yeah, different places for the mouth of Govardhan. So, even that level, only if you're worshiping Lord Chaitanya can you really understand that Radhakund is the supreme place. Yeah? So, if you bathe in the original spiritual waters, then, but that's very difficult to do. In the purport to text number 11, very short, Prabhupada says, Bhakti Siddhanta says it's very difficult to bathe in Radhakund. Prabhupada says, Bhakti Vinod says it's very difficult to bathe in Radhakund. Prabhupada says, yeah, but, you can be on the bank, you can be somewhere near there, you can, that's very good, and trying to, approach it and to help them be a little bit outside of Radhakund and supplying, things, But that's the point, is that we're the Radhakund we experience as Madhyamadhikaris, it's like deity worship, and if we're respectful and do these things and take a bath and stuff like that, then the real Radhakund is seeing how we're dealing with it. It's like a little girl, give her a little baby doll, and she takes care of her baby doll. You say, okay, she's taking care of the baby doll well. Okay, we're going to give her a kitty cat. She's feeding her kitty, taking care of the kitty, like that, and so on. Okay, now I have to go out to the grocery market, take care of your little sister. Now this is, bigger deal. We run the Brajmana Parika with local Amars, going around, going through so many villages, everybody would come out. And suddenly I realized, all these little kids, I didn't see one doll. Then I realized, because you don't need a doll, because you have your little 5-year-old sister you're hanging on to. What do you need a doll for when you got a real kid, hanging on and playing with them and stuff. And So, how purified are we? How advanced are we? But if bathing in the Vaidhi Bhakti Radhakund properly, it's good. It's very nice. Yeah. Okay. So the next thing is about how we should do that. One Iskcon sannyasi who took shelter of one of Prabhupada's godbrothers after Prabhupada left, no names here, was talking to him. He's a very respected guy in Iskcon, this Gaudiya Vaishnava. He said, one of your godbrothers, is translating some of these very esoteric books about Radha Krishna's conjugal pastimes and these kind of things like that, their conjugal postures and all this kind of stuff, and distributing to ordinary people. What do you think about this? And this godbrother of Prabhupada said, he said, the followers of Bhakti Siddhanta wanted to translate some of these books, and Bhakti Siddhanta said, yes, you can translate them. You can translate one copy, put it in a golden box, and put it way up on top of the altar and pay your obeisances to it. So then this godbrother of Prabhupada, who many devotees accepted being a very advanced person, he said, these things are way beyond me, Baba. As far as I'm concerned, I think I'm on the right path. So that's, again, identifying as a Madhyamadhikari. Have faith in the path. And okay. So that's how to approach Radhakund. As far as I know, Prabhupada in the beginning permitted the devotees to bathe. But then some of the devotees from Miami started doing water polo. And Prabhupada heard about it and said, when you are kicking Srimati Radharani, kicking Radhakund, you're kicking Srimati Radharani in the body. No more bathing, I think he said Bhakti Siddhanta never put his feet in Radhakund. So then he said, takes water on the outside. And then the devotees asked him again respectfully, and he said, yeah, all right, if you're very respectful, you can do complete bath, but so on like that. So as far as I know, what I know, my disciple, if you're respectful, you can do it. I used to do submersion, but now I would just sit and take a load in, pour it on my head. But anyways, that's what I understand. It's if you're respectful, it's okay. But anyway, talk to your shiksha diksha guru. Yeah. I don't know. What does Subhag Maharaj do?
Say same like you say that if you
Lota?
if you are very respectful,
Yeah. Okay.
not every time you have to do, once in a time. If
Yeah.
you are very respectful, you may best.
Yeah.
Especially your conscience should, if you are in the Atma Buddhi so much,
Yeah.
then you don't best.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you are completely bodily conscious, then don't best.
Yeah.
You put some water like
Yeah.
this, and in proper mood, exceptionally,
Yeah.
sometime you may best.
Otherwise, if you don't do it properly, in your next life you'll be a monkey in Vrindavan
And
at Radhakund.
Maharaj was having one lady disciple that asked and tell that you can, by lota, you can, knowing her position, whatever, give this instruction, you best on the bank.
Yeah. So, Vaidhi Bhakti is a very big science. It's not a small thing. Vaidhi Bhakti means you know that if I can't do this, this will substitute. It comes to the point where Vaidhi Bhakti, you can be fully engaged intensely, broadly, just by doing Vaidhi Bhakti, becoming very expert in how to apply the different aspects of the process. I can't do this, but this will substitute. Yeah. So say I'm German here. We must finish at 9:30 exactly. Yeah. So. Yes, sir. Hare Krishna.
There is a stage Ado Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha Bhajan Kriya.
Yeah.
So whether I want
Oh, okay.
So
No, this is maybe you're going to ask a question. I wanted to talk about. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
So in Bhakti Sandarbha discussion was going on. So Ado is the one of the stage, just like Ado, then Shraddha, then Bhajan Kriya, like that. And Shraddha means 100% Shraddha, then Bhajan Kriya. Is that like that? The explanation is there, or Shraddha is the building up, like when person has little Shraddha, some kind of little, then he
Are you
associates
saying
with devotee.
Shraddha or Sadan?
Shraddha, faith.
Shraddha.
Yeah, faith.
Okay, yeah.
So Adau, Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya.
Yeah.
So it was long discussion was that. No, Adau is the different stage. In Adau, one may have some kind of faith, like Komal faith. But whenever question comes Shraddha means 100% Shraddha. As Prabhupada says, Shraddha sabde kahe Vishwas Sudrad Nishchay. Krishna Bhakti kaile Sarva Karma Krata hoy. Then one person had a 100% Shraddha. Then his Bhajan Kriya starts. Before that, Ado stage, that is a Karma Arpanam, just like somebody is Lok Shraddha, like traditional faith, but not Shastri Shraddha is developed. So, but we had also Shraddha is like beginning, just like sugar is just like sweet, more sweet.
Mm-hmm.
When person practice bhakti, so when little faith is there, then associate with devotees, but not 100% faith is there. When as soon as practices, then his Shraddha develops. So one cannot say one has a now 100% Shraddha. So when we keep the stage Shraddha, means Shraddha stage, then Bhajan Kriya. So can you please
I think
explain
it's
this?
the same as...
Ado is that like that, whether Ado is one of the stage or Ado means beginning, beginning.
But we also
with
talk
faith.
about the yoga ladder, no? We talk about the yoga ladder. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga. Maitreya Muni was a jnana mishra bhakta. And so, because of many different kinds of people, but Prabhupada says it's all yoga, But depending on your level, it gets given different names. So the only yoga is bhakti yoga. Yoga means to connect with Krishna. That's yoga. It's the only yoga there is. But on different levels, it's just given different names. And so, in the beginning, we use the word shraddha. At the beginning, some faith. and maybe the Sanskrit lexicon. The word Shraddha means like more like, faithful, or Shraddhavan or something, But right in the Upadesamrita, it's exactly there. The same thing is quoted from Chaitanya Charitamrita. That one is classified as Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttakar, in terms of the development of Shraddha. So for I can see there's no real difference between the word Shraddha and the word Bhakti. As your determination to serve Krishna increases, as your Bhakti increases, you're classified at different levels. And what is it? Shraddhavan, hey. Bhaktivinoda Thakur uses it. Shraddhavan, don, hey. Right? Yeah.
Stages are there, 5 stages of this remembrance.
You can talk. I'm half deaf.
Text 8.
Yeah.
There is in purports. There is neophyte stage. One should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. This is called Sravan Dasa.
One should always what? One should always
engage in hearing.
Okay.
Krishna Katha. That is Sravan Dasa.
Yeah.
A stage of hearing. By constantly hearing the transcendental holy name of Krishna and hearing of his transcendental form, qualities, pastime, one can attain stage of acceptance called Varana Dasa.
Yeah.
When one attains this stage, there are 5 stages there. Can you please explain a little bit?
Yeah. I invoke the Shakti of Mother Urmila Devi Dasi to enter my body. Yeah. Boy. Okay. Prabhupada said, I want to be sit in the middle of my books, surrounded by my books, and challenge anybody, Mayavadis, to come and argue with me. Like that. So Prabhupada himself would use his books. Okay, this is text number 8, right? Okay. Where's text number 8? 8? Yes. Okay. There it is. Okay. This is text page number 102. Okay. Actually, it's going to be in the appendix. The appendices, we have, Prabhupada has, what do you call it? The pronunciation guide in Sanskrit. Okay. Now we put in, what's it called? Anvaya. We put the verses in here, and they're in the English word order. So when you see that, you can just see immediately the translation is just obvious. Oh, okay. Then Radhika explains that. Okay. Then Prabhupada has verses listed. We actually have every single verse directly or indirectly cited in Upadesamrita we could find, the references. And it becomes a fantastic study guide for all the rest of the books. Upadesamrita is a fantastic Vaishnava verse book. I just memorize all the verses and look them up. They are fantastic verses. All the verses that are used again and again by the acharyas, not just some verse. I don't think there's almost a single verse in this entire thing which is just some verse to support this idea. This is the verse in the Bhagavatam which supports this point. So you look at it like that, in depth, and it's wonderful. Okay, so that's in our appendix here somewhere about the author. Okay. Text 2. Text 5. Okay. And here's all the questions for the Bhakti Vaibhava level examination. That's okay. Okay. Okay, it's not here. Anyway, I have it someplace here, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember where. I think it's either. What is it? Haridas. It's one of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books. He goes through the details like that, and probably in the text then, but I didn't put it in the appendices then. And there he goes through the details like that and so on. As far as I understand it, right, how it goes. Okay, there was a guy, Bhakta Bill W. He was an alcoholic. I know him, He was coming to the temple in Dallas, not Houston, like that. And he was basically, he was just, cause, some odd, for example, you can, big festivals and auditoriums, people come in, they work, set things up and break them down. Somebody calls these workers up, can you come? No, yes, can you come? And then they work. So he had this like part-time work when he needed money, when he wasn't drunk. And the rest of the time he had his favorite bar. He would go in there and they give you potato chips and beer and stuff. And you can live a long time on potato chips and beer before you die. There's enough nutrition in them. So on. But that's what he was doing. He was really in bad condition. But he found out the Hare Krishnas had a free feast, So he started going to the Sunday feast, And it was it? How does it go? No, Ado Shvada. No. Shinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana. He had a little bit of pious activities, so when he went there, he felt guilty about going and eating. So he would come in time for the lecture, the kirtan and the lecture, like that. And he felt like, if I'm going to eat their food, I should sit here for the, their sermon, their preaching, and their songs or hymns, okay. And then he would eat like 5 plates of prasadam or something. This is America, you can do that. And that was how he would basically surviving, was eating prasadam. So he was sitting, and he told me he went to 1 year, 52 lectures, right? Hearing the philosophy, everything else. And what is this? Is Shravana Dasha? He was hearing, he was going through like that. Shembatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. You're an alcoholic like that if your very sinful reactions are going on. But he didn't know it, but he was becoming purified. He was acquiring pious activities. They were developing. And he said after 52 lectures, his mind for the first time said, hey, Bill, what is it? What are they talking about? Oh, yeah. It's 52 lectures. Then the first thing he discovered was that the Hare Krishnas were vegetarian. 52 times he'd had prasadam and he hadn't figured out that there was no meat in it. Yeah, well, that's right. There hasn't been any meat in the food. Yeah. Okay. And so then, wow, what else do they believe in? That's strange. What else do they believe in? Then he found out that the Hare Krishnas believed in reincarnation. Right? 52 lectures. But yeah, the effect was there. Shravana Dasha. What's the word? Shravana Dasha. And the next one is. Huh? Yeah, then it starts to sink in. You start to, in the beginning, you start to the point where intellectually you can understand. This is the first level of Shmarnam, you understand, is intellect. Like right now, you organize this stuff, you put it in places. That's intellectual. Yeah, but it's Shmarnam, because now you can, contemplate the thing. Yeah, it's the very lowest level of Shmarnam is intellectual understanding. So it's worthwhile. That's Uttamadakar. He has intellectual understanding. Okay, so then he said, "Wow, I'm not gonna come here again. These guys are vegetarian. They believe in reincarnation. Maybe they're communists also. Maybe they're homosexuals. I won't come here again." But he said, "Wow, but the food's really good, and yeah, maybe there is reincarnation. Maybe I'll be a cockroach in my next lifetime. Then I'll get all the beer I want for free. I can be a cockroach in the bar, So, but he was okay. You're hearing. Your girlfriend drags you to the temple or something. Your sister takes you. And then you're hearing that after a while you become pious, purified. Then it starts to penetrate. It penetrates intellectually. Then at some point, there's this actual ecstasy or something. You really, have this sensation. Something hits you, Yeah. You take, Kapila Dev gives the example of a dry sponge. You put it in the water. You take a very, very dry sponge. You put it in, take it out. It's dry, right? Yeah. But what happens if you hold it in there? What happens? You ever watch? One little point will start to get wet. The water will sink in, and then it'll spread like anything. So at some point, bija, there'll be this experience of something like maybe sometime in an Arctic or something, you'll be looking at the deities, and just for one moment you'll feel this like affection and pain in your heart and stuff, and it's like, oh, okay, that starts to sink in, penetrate, Then eventually it becomes the point where you're always remembering Krishna. I have to do this service, or that devotee is a rascal, I don't like him. Or you're always thinking about Krishna, Krishna's devotees. Yeah, it's continuous, right? Continuous, okay? Then the next level is it has to become continuous and intense. Not just thinking about Krishna all the time. You're a Brahman, always spiritual. Okay, then sannyasi, Goswami, Goswamini. Then you start to be aware of spirituality, like we're doing, connected up, things are happening, everything else, Paramatma, yeah, okay. And then, continuous, uninterrupted, intense, broad. And then every single thing you see is related to Krishna in that sense, intensely and broadly. You know, at that, basically you're waking up. At that point, you're in the level of Baba. You know your relationship with Krishna. It's only a matter of just going from Baba to Prema. It's a small thing. yeah. So that's why I understand it. And there it's very condensed. And he goes through and Baba says these successive stages of blah 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 blah. But that's where, as far as I know, the details, and I think it's in. I don't have it in the appendix, but it's in the actual commentary on the specific text I give where it's from. Maybe Harinam Chintamani, or another one. I can't. What is it? Huh?
This is in
Bhakti Sandarbha. Oh, okay. Thank you. I didn't. But it's also quoted by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in one of his works. But it's in Bhakti Sandarbha. Here you go. So you go. You can ask it.
No, I'm not asking reference. I'm just asking explanation. How do you explain nicely?
That's my, which may or may not be true. Yeah.
But you explained.
Yeah.
This purport is mentioned.
Yeah.
How it goes. Sampati dasa, one stage Sarupa.
Yeah.
Realization.
Yeah.
An achievement of.
Then Prabhupada gives the different stages in.
Stages of remembrance.
Yeah. In Sanskrit, then he gives English translation, which the English language is, as if we're talking about yesterday, Prabhupada probably picks a certain word, Bhakti Siddhanta may have picked a certain English word and stuck with it. That's why we're trying to work with, trying to connect up Bhakti Siddhanta with Carl Jung. Bhakti Siddhanta was born 1875, Carl Jung was born 1876. And Prabhupada says of all the Western philosophers, Jung has the most intelligence. It's still a very, very alive tradition. And they're very, when you preach to them, they can understand subtle things very well. But to try and connect up Bhakti Siddhanta and Carl Jung is very nice because they went through the same experience, the industrialization of the West, of the world. So you can point out, hey, this is, this problem okay, that's a separate topic. Okay, any other final question? No. Okay. Today is Ekadashi, the mother of invention for those who cook. No? Yes. So we can chant a little bit more here. And thank you all for your association. And I hope you can take your bath in Radhakund one time. the real Radhakund is described, right? There's the Astasakis have their kunjas. The sand is made of diamonds. Do you see that? No? There are swans floating in it. Yeah. We're seeing something else. Yeah. Which is still important. You come in and pay your obeisances to the deity because it's an icon or something like that. Yeah. It counts. Yeah. Krishna. Hey. Krishna, hey. Krishna, hey. Krishna, Raksha Mam. Krishna, Pahi Mam. Rama Raghava, Raksha Mam. Krishna Kaishava, Krishna Pahi Mam. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare. Oh, Hare Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Bhagavan ki jai, Madhurani ki jai.